Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I'm excited. I was a little bummed thinking that I would have to log in on my phone and do it like through my cell phone and stuff. But everything that I'm wanting to do today is going to be in Final Draft. So the elements that we talked about in session 5, the different components that make up your screenplay, we were going to look at all of those different things in one of my screenplays in Final Draft. And the reason why I look at my screenplays is because if you have a question, I can at least give you my reasoning as to why I did it this way over that way. With anybody else's screenplay, I can't do that. You know what I mean? We look at different screenplays. I see it all the time, you know, and nothing wrong with that, because I always want to say everybody's process, it's fine. It works for them. I'm never wanting to put down anybody's process. But if I'm looking at someone else's screenplay, I can only assume why they did something unless I know the reason why. You know, you watch a video or they explained it or something like that. But a lot of screenplays get shown and you don't understand. You don't really know why a writer chose to do something one way over another. So at least for me, if I show you one of my screenplays and give you some examples, then you could say, hey, why did you do it this way? And then I can explain why I did it this way, because my writing sits kind of where I like it to sit. I'm not so strict on the exactly streamlined, you know, as in just really no components. I like to add a little bit of flavor to it and stuff like that, but I try to find a balance for myself. So anyway, we're going to look at one of my screenplays and we're going to go from there. Any of you guys here right now working on a novel? You're working on a novel, David? Okay. So I have, are you familiar with the formatting of a novel? You've written a book before, haven't you? Gotcha. Okay. Because I was going to look into that as well, because I did find one of my manuscripts for my early manuscripts for my book. So giving you a book is one thing, because but giving you the manuscript is what you really need to look at if you're wanting to write a book. Same thing with reviewing films. This is at least my choice. I don't have films to review for people to look at and say, oh, this and that, whatever. I mean, I can point out tension, you can point out plot points, you can point out different things. But in comparison to a screenplay, so much typically gets changed in your screenplay even before it becomes a film. So you could have the draft that you're looking at, or the draft that the author or the screenwriter wrote, and then it can get revised so many times, and that's what you end up seeing. And another thing is, the director's going to do what the director's going to do, regardless of what the screenplay says. So even looking at stuff like that, I like to look at my own material. And it's not because I'm being prideful or anything like that. I'm just saying I can answer questions as to why I did this the way that I did it, or why I wrote this the way that I wrote it. And I can give you an explanation for that. So that's why I choose to do that. So we're going to look at one of my screenplays. And just for the record, this is like literally, you guys have to acknowledge, for the record, what I did is I took one of my my little short films, or it's actually a short pilot. I've written 3 episodes for it. It's something that I just kind of tucked away, haven't paid attention to it or whatever. So to try to incorporate all the elements that we talked about last week into a short screenplay, I just went and added stuff to it. Okay. So when you look at it, it may seem a little disjointed, only because I added flashbacks, I added dream sequences, I added more off screen and off camera, and all those little elements that we talked about in our last session. I added those so that they all contained within the first 6 pages of this screenplay. So it's 15 pages for a little pilot. And so I just want you guys to acknowledge that I added those elements for you guys. This is not what the draft actually looks like. There's some areas where it's bold as far as props and sound effects and those type of things, where if you are writing a spec script and you are writing for a reader, then you don't typically put those things. If you're writing it for yourself to film and produce yourself, then yes, you would highlight the items that you need to let you know what props you're going to need and stuff. So obviously I did that, but I also added new content, and so you could see the difference between what it looks like without the bolds and what it looks like with the bolds. So it's kind of like a melting pot of different things, just so you guys can see the different elements and ask questions about the different elements that we see. I mean, I added some transitions, like a cut to black in there, just because I wanted you guys to see it and what it looks like in the screenplay. But it's not something that you would typically add, transitions, because again, that's something that the director is going to decide. So 5. Oh, 5. Oh my goodness, David, 5 books? Dude, you rock, man. That's so cool. No, 5 what? He said, no. You're mute. Oh, 5 sessions. This is session 6. Yeah, you must have missed one, but they're all online. They're all on YouTube. So, okay, gotcha. All right, rock on. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up my final draft. Just 1 second. Looking for my screenplay. All right. Can you guys all see this here? All right, wonderful. Again, I want to reiterate that this is a melting pot of things that I added just so you guys can see the different elements. It did not flow like this initially, but I don't know how much time we're going to have. I don't know how far we're going to get into the screenplay. So I wanted to incorporate all the elements within like 6 pages. So I have flashbacks and dream sequences, which were not originally in there. But anyway, so this is an example of the way a screenplay is laid out in Final Draft. If you have software for screenplay, they're going to pretty much format everything for you. So, and it's just a matter of hitting tabs and hitting returns and going to the space that you want, and then your elements are going to be there. All right. So this is our first transition. Fade in, you guys, just for the record, technically does not have to be there. All right. So you do not have to start your screenplay with fade in. It's become customary over the years, but more and more people are kind of getting away from it and saying, because it's really the director's decision on how he's going to start the film, not the writer's decision. All right. So we always write fade in just because it's kind of common. It's something that's known, it's traditional, but you do not have to include that. So I will go ahead and delete that right there and say, this is how this project is going to start. All right. So, but the fade in is a transition. All right. And so here we have our, anybody know what this is called?
Slugline.
What's that? Yes, slugline. What else is it called? The technical name?
Scene heading.
Scene heading. Perfect. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And the scene heading consists of what 3 elements?
Where the action is taking place.
Did you say 3 elements?
Where the action is taking place, the location, and the time of day.
Yes, perfect, perfect, perfect. Whether we're inside or outside or both. I don't think I added that. Yeah, yes, I did. Okay, inside or outside, your location. You'll notice that it says a school. So, and it again has a particular part of the school just in the hallway, and that it's daytime. All right. So you guys all have that. So I'm going to just read through this real quick. Your guys' description of your characters, you describe them however you want to. In a short film, I actually didn't have any of this stuff. I knew that I was going to shoot it because I could just find some local actors that I've worked with in the past, get together a camera, get some crew, or get some lights and sound, and find the locations to go and shoot. So I didn't have any of the description things because I didn't need them. I know who I'm looking for. I'm going to direct it. So I know who I'm looking for. So I just had this guy, the character's name. When you first introduce your character in a screenplay, their name is going to be in all caps. Okay. Following that, anytime you see their name appear, it's going to be normal, uppercase, lowercase. So since we see this character for the first time, I gave him a brief description, Jake in his 40s. So I did it this way, but there's other ways to obviously write that. because you could write Jake in his 40s. Jake, you can literally like write out the word 40s. So there's different ways to actually look at this. The best way to see how you might want to incorporate it is to look at different screenplays. Okay, this is just one idea of how you can incorporate that. So a classroom door suddenly shoots open. Jake, 40s, slovenly dressed and unshaven, barges out of the room with Danny. This is her first appearance, so it's in all caps. A 9-year-old mixed Black girl with autism. All right, so this sets the stage. Scene heading lets us know where this action is taking place. All right, with a firm grip on Danny's clothes, Jake forces her towards the front of the school. Danny struggles to place her 80s style Walkman headphones. I don't know if any of you guys know what those look like, but I was born in the 70s, so 80s was my bomb. It was bomb. Walkman headphones over her ears. Children, because we want children on set. That's the reason why this is highlighted. It's letting us know that the casting, it's letting us know that we need these extras in the scene. If you are writing a screenplay for a reader, you're entering a festival, you're sending it to an agent. This is not something that necessarily is going into production. You don't have to highlight this stuff. Okay, this lets us know we are going to need children in the movie. At this point, there is no movie. You see what I mean? Same thing with the Walkman headphones. It's highlighted because I know that I need old Walkman headphones for the pilot, since this is what this is. But if you're writing something that hasn't been commissioned, there is no props department, there's no sound department, there's no nothing. There's no lighting, there's no special effects, no nothing. You're writing specifically for the reader to engage in your story. So because we were going to be shooting this, or am going to be shooting it, whatever, but it's tucked away. That's why I have it highlighted that we're going to need white Walkman headphones. All right. So the children stare wide-eyed, whatever. So they're out there. So I hope I'm painting the picture for you. They're in the school, the hallways. This guy snatches her up out of this class. Danny's eyes wander. She escapes into her music. This is something in screenwriting, you don't write what you cannot see. All right. But someone can read that and say, well, how can I interpret that? What does it mean? Her eyes wander. She escapes into her music. An actor can interpret that. But typically, you don't write what you cannot see. You don't write, for the most part, somebody's heart beating out of their chest. That's a common phrase that, because you can't film that. You know what I mean? Unless somebody really has a condition and they don't have a shirt on and it's a close-up of their chest and it's beaten, you know what I mean? You don't do that. Or unless you're talking about Aliens where the thing came out of his chest or something like that, but you don't typically write what you cannot see. Screenwriting is very visual art form. So you want to write what you can see. And if you can't see it, you typically do not write it. Okay. So that's pretty much across the board, but that's something where you can play with the rules of that and how you write. And I play with them a lot. Okay. A teacher, because it's a character in here that's going to speak. Anybody that has a speaking role is going to be in all caps. All right. The first time that you see them, a teacher rushes up from behind. Obviously, here is where our character name goes right there, pretty much in the center of the page, and their dialogue goes right beneath it. All right. So here we've already seen our transition, which we had at, I'm going to put it back in there. Fade in. Okay. So that's my transition. You'll notice in Final Draft, it already sent me to my scene heading because that's typically what's going to go next. Interior, exterior, interior or exterior, or I can write it this way. Okay. It already has a spot for your dream sequence, but isn't that nice? So we have our transition. We have our scene heading. We have our scene direction or our action here in this sequence is right here. And you'll notice I try to keep things down to 3 lines, 2 lines. It's pretty rare that I would go to 4 lines, but if you're writing your action lines, you want to try to keep them as brief as possible. All right. So that's pretty standard. If you see people with, because I mean, I'll send you guys some screenplays. If you guys request them, if you send me an email, say, hey, send me those screenplays you have, you'll see some with 8, 9, 10. You know, they're really, really big, bulky descriptive lines, but these are people that got won the Nichols or won the Blacklist. But those are a rarity. I would encourage you to try to stay as brief as you can with your lines in your screenplay. Okay, don't, you know, 4, I guess that's cool. I try to stay away from it, and I'll try to break my sentences down to 3 or 2 lines. And if you can get 1 line in there, that's gravy. Okay. All right. So we have teacher, excuse me, wait a minute. Hey, I called the office. You can't just take her out of class like that or like this, whatever. Jake stops and turns. He faces his face bends into an indignant scowl. The teacher keeps his distance. Go back to your class. Jake pulls back his jacket. He places his thumb on his holstered gun next to his detective badge, next to a detective badge. Okay. So hopefully you guys are seeing that scene. Well, again, we have our character here. Go back to your class. I use these little dots to carry on something. Obviously, the action right here is continued. You can see that right there. But I use the little dot because it kind of has this section in here right there that can, him placing his hand on his gun could technically be a parenthetical. That's why I just wrote that like this. And that was my choice in how I did that. Jake, go back to your class. I could have put in parentheticals, you know, thumb on the holster. He puts his thumb on his holster and then continue on with this dialogue now, you know, but there's a little more action that's taking place right there. He pulls his jacket back to kind of, you know, flash his badge and his gun. Then he puts his thumb on there and then he uses, that says his last word right here. All right. That's the reason why I wrote it this way. There's other ways to do it. That's the reason why you got to read a lot of different screenplays to find out kind of get an idea of what you like and to try to hone in your style. This is mine and I'm sticking to it because I'm getting the results that I want. That's what I encourage everybody. You do you if you're getting the results that you want. If you're not getting the results that you want, maybe there's something in your process that needs to be adjusted, you see? And for the time being, I'm good. I'm fine. Don't do it this way. Yeah, I'm going to do it that way. Yeah. So I don't argue with people. I let people do the things the way that they want to do. That's why I don't push things on the people that I teach. I just say, this is my process. Take what you want, leave out what you don't want, and put in something that works better for you. Okay. On this note, I will say this. There are people that write the terms we see, and I encourage people not to do that. That's just my personal thing. But it's also something that is, I mean, if you look at it, you'll have people go on both sides, both arguments, but they'll write, we see, like at the beginning. If somebody may be using it for their intro, if we introduce the school, but we see a school and we do the exterior, I don't write that. I don't write we see, I don't write we hear. I never write that in any of my screenplays. I would encourage you not to do that because as a reader, that takes me out of the story. And I'm only speaking for me personally. All right. Because I don't have many arguments because people do it. People don't do it. But for me personally, when I'm reading, it's me. It's just me and your story. That's it. You see, but then you're saying we see this teacher, you know, do this, or we see this character do this, or we hear this sound. It's not a we. I'm trying to invest in this story and I want to get wrapped up in this story. And I don't want to be taken out of this story. And as soon as I read that, then I know that I'm reading someone's story instead of being in the story and experiencing it. But that's just me personally. I don't have any arguments to or for or against. But me personally, I do not write anything like we see this or we hear this or we nothing this. That's just me. All right. I'm sorry, I'm going to bore you guys with my reading, but it is what it is. All right, because I wanted to add these different elements. The teacher slowly withdraws. He retrieves his cell phone and dials. Now here, I could have write cell phone just to let me know in all caps. I could have wrote that in all caps just to let me know I'm going to need a cell phone prop for the teacher. That's because I would be producing this. You see, A lot of my projects will go right from my hands into the final draft that'll break down the script, or screenwriter that'll break down the script. And then it'll take all those highlighted areas and it will separate them for me into the props category, you see, and into the names category and the sound effects category. So it will add those things automatically to where I just need to put them in the category that they go in. And that's the reason why I normally highlight this stuff. But the things that I added, because I added all this, the things that I added, I didn't put highlights on some of them just so you can see the difference. The reader just really wants to read through your screenplay without being distracted by anything. So you want to make that as clean as you possibly can. So here I could have did that, but I did not. Okay, and he dials. Obviously, I could even put on there the sound effects for the dialing phone, but that's just me. Okay, I'm gonna look at the chat real quick. Oh, rock on, awesome, awesome. Yay, I'm glad you guys are getting something. Okay, so police dispatcher off screen, because this person is not on the camera. They're not able to be even filmed. So they're not off camera, they're off screen. And see, police dispatcher in the parenthetical, this is where I added from phone. So I'm going to hear this person's voice coming from the phone. All right, so that is something that I would add. Police dispatcher OS, this is one of our extensions, off screen, from the phone, 911, what's your emergency? All right, so we hear that, but we do not see the police dispatcher talking. Now the teacher, guess what I said right there? Obviously it's assumed he had the cell phone, he was dialing, so we're assuming that he's going to talk in this cell phone, but I wrote it in there anyway. All right, just so make it clear. I'm calling from Westside Elementary School. There's a man here taking one of our children. Okay, that sounds scary. All right, but that's the way I wrote it. I just threw that in there last night, just to let you guys know. So don't flip out about my dialogue. I'm just trying to give you guys something to see in all the components and elements of a screenplay. I want to make that for the record, because all this stuff was just added. All right, so the teacher, parenthetical right here. There's a parenthetical right there. Okay, I'm calling from Westside Elementary. There's a man here taking one of our children. Jake trudges off with Danny, so he is starting to pull her along. Okay, and then I added a voiceover. I just added this. Jake, voiceover. I really wish I could shoot that guy. Okay, all right, there you go. So here's an example of your voiceover. So you at least have all the elements that you could see. We got our character name sits right there in the center of the page. This is why, because we've already went through a lot of elements. We went through our transitions, we went through action element, we went through our character names, parentheticals, extensions, dialogue, all that covered so far. Seriously, on page 1, okay? All that covered so far. Screenwriting, the mechanics, not difficult at all. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone else. All the upper echelon people, I don't mean it to anyone, no disrespect. You got your process, you know what works for you. So I want to make that clear. I'm not disrespecting anybody, but think about the mechanics, guys. Here's an action line. Awesome. It starts right here. If you have a screenwriting software, it's going to do it for you. So this is the element that I'm adding, which is the elements of my story that I already outlined. You see what I mean? I outlined it either with my cards, or I wrote a treatment for it, or I wrote an actual outline for it. Okay. There's nothing creative about this. It is what it is. This character right there in the center of the page, it does not change. That's mechanics, not creativity. There's nothing creative about coming up with the character name goes in the center of the page. And if you're unclear about how a line's delivered, or if it's coming from a phone, you could put it in the parenthetical, which automatically goes right there. Nothing creative about this. That's why the mechanics of screenwriting are not difficult. So please don't make them difficult. No insult to anybody, okay? Your dialogue is always going to go right here. If you have this, any kind of software, even if you have a template in Microsoft Word, You can have free software, you can have paid software, obviously, but it's already pretty much set up for you. So all you're doing is taking your outline or your cards, and then you're putting that great story of yours into the mechanics, the vehicle of a screenplay. There's nothing creative about this. If I'm talking off screen, I'm going to put OS. That's not hard. You learned it in one session if you didn't know anything about it. Now you're seeing an example of it. Not hard at all, you guys. Off screen. Or if I change this to a C, off camera. Or if I change this to a VO, that is a voiceover. Nothing hard about that. You guys got that, right?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Okay, the paragraph just before where you are now, the teacher slowly withdraws and then he yells for the kids, for the children.
Okay.
Should that be like a dialogue? Because
well, no, I'm not
something.
saying what he says. You know, he could just be trying to just kind of shoo him. It could be if you want to. I'm not trying to give the teacher any more lines, but that is a fantastic question, you know, because an actor seeing that, he's going to just be get in the class, you know, that could be dialogue. Absolutely 100%. But I just didn't list it like that because he's just going to just scream at the children.
Okay, because
You know?
I have something similar to in my screenplay, and I put it as a dialogue because I thought it was supposed to be. But if I put it like that, I think it's better.
You did the right thing, though. You did it correct. And I'm going to just make one statement. Do what you know to do. And then if you find out differently, then that's perfectly fine. But whatever it is that you're learning, get a hold of that and do what you know to do and be excellent at that. You see what I mean? But you did the right thing. That's perfect. Okay, for this, if I put he screams at the children to get in their classes, then that might be more where I would say, where I wouldn't even think about putting it into the dialogue. He just screams at the children, you know, because I could put even he screams and motions for the nearby children to get in. So that I probably wouldn't even put into dialogue, because if he screams and motioning in, it's more like to me, it's more like an action, you know, get in and get out of here, get out. You know what I mean? That's it, where he's like frantic. All right. So that's just me and how I might want to paint the picture. It all really comes down to how you want to paint the picture. So you were absolutely 100% correct in putting it in dialogue, giving him the words to say. This doesn't give this character, the teacher, the words to say, but if I put he screams and motions for nearby children, obviously I first had he yells for nearby children to get in the class, then maybe I would have some explaining to do, but that works nonetheless, okay? But that's a great question, and you are 100% correct. Anybody else have any questions on what we've gone over so far? We really have we haven't even got to through page 1 yet, you see? And I just try to squish all those different elements in there. So I added the phone call. He's speaking into the phone. If there's a conversation that's going back and forth, which if it's going back and forth for a while, I don't keep saying into phone. And if you have it in your action that he talks into the phone, then you won't have to indicate that in your parenthetical. Anything you can replace and take out a parenthetical and put into action, do that and put it into action. All right. So Jake trudges off with Danny. I really wish I could shoot that guy. So it's a voiceover. His voice comes out. Maybe we're just hearing his thoughts. I don't often use voiceover. Or I could have listed it where he turns to the camera and talks directly to the camera or something. It still would be listed as a voiceover. Okay. Teacher off screen. That means the camera is still either focused on Jake walking away, but because the teacher's off screen, we hear him say, all right, he's off screen. Actually, let me take that back. He should be off camera. See, I rushed to do this. He should be off camera because he is capable of being on camera. That's an easy way to understand it. He's capable, but he is not. Okay. So he's saying he's got a gun and a badge, a gun, and he's and a badge. I just did this little pause. He's got a gun. He wants to leave that for a dramatic pause. Some people do put beat. You could put beat. People are getting more and more away from that word. And if you don't know what that is, it is, let me see if I can add a parenthetical right there. You will see that often in a screenplay. He's got a gun.
Some people also use the slashes.
I also noticed that some people use then, like on the left side, then, instead of beat, they have it in the action, then. I have seen then.
How does it, can you give me a sentence? How would that word be used then?
It was like, okay, the teacher, he's got a gun. Instead of beat, it would go over to the far left, then, comma, in like an action.
Oh.
I'm trying to find where I saw it, but that was
gotcha.
One
That's
of the
interesting. I haven't come across that, but if I came across that, I would probably avoid it. But that's just me personally. Only because because I like things to be uniform, and that breaks up my uniformity. You know, if I have something that just stands out, but that's just me personally. I obviously wrote it the way that I am most comfortable writing it and the way that I want to try to paint the picture and stuff like that. But it's anybody's things. You learn the rules. You learn the rules that you should not break. Don't break the rule that the dialogue goes or that the character name goes in the middle of the page. Don't break that rule. How about that? Yeah. Don't break the rule where dialogue goes in the center of the page. That's a rule you don't break. How about that? Right? Don't break the rule that these are action lines. You see what I mean? And this is where they go. Don't mess up your mark. You see what I mean? So the hard, fast rules, don't break those. Stuff like that, you can absolutely write however is comfortable and what works perfectly for you. But I use my little ... He's got a gun, and he's just gonna stress that, and a badge, but we don't know who he is. Okay. I threw that dialogue in there just yesterday. So and I can always figure out, the more you sit at something, you can always figure out how to word things better and how to make things look better. And that's one of the beauties of your rewrite. That's one of the beauties of giving your screenplay a rest once you're done with it, and going back to it in a few days, you know what I mean? Or a week or whatever. Just give it a break, go with it for go with it with fresh eyes, and then you might even reword and rework some of your stuff.
I have a question.
Instead of was, where, Avalon? I'm Amanda. I said your last name. Sorry, Amanda. Instead of was, where?
Where you had the dot. Someone used 2 slashes.
Oh yeah, I do those too.
Okay, so what's the difference between
I use the 2 slashes. I'm sorry, I'm trying to break the habit of talking over people. I get so excited and I think I got what it's trying to say. I apologize, but I did add some. I use the 2 slashes to break up if there's an action that takes place afterwards, if it's something that's abrupt or sudden, you see, or if it's in dialogue, I use the 2 slashes when someone gets cut off. You know what I mean? If they let their words trail off, I use ... If they are not completing something that they're going to complete, I use ... If they are saying something that gets cut off, I use ... And I will have an example of that in a minute. But those are the 2 things that I do and the reason why I do them.
So you use dots if there's a pause in the sentence.
Yes, that's just for me personally.
Okay.
Yes, if I want to slow things down, instead of adding a beat, which is a dramatic pause that people use, if I want to just slow things down, but I know that person's going to continue speaking, and I do have other examples that are in this screenplay, they're going to continue speaking, then I use the ... If I know they're going to get cut off or a sudden action takes place, that I will use a ... Everly, you have a question?
Yeah, so when you write a teacher off camera, what exactly are we showing? we're
showing
Jake. Since we're showing that she's off camera. So, but on camera, on the scene, what are we showing?
in that particular instance, it would be
Yeah.
Jake and Danny walking off.
Okay.
Because the thing was right before it is they
Yeah.
trudged, I thought.
Okay.
Where did I miss it? I must have missed it.
So I'll stop with that. Yes, sir.
Oh
I
yeah.
got it.
Jake trudges off already. So that's up here. And then it says that Dora, and notice I add this lockdown alarm in your screenplay. If you're sending it and it's a spec script film festival, don't highlight that stuff because it's going to be like a start, stop for the reader. Yes, they'll catch that. Oh, an alarm goes off. And some people think, well, it makes it more visual, lets them know. Well, yeah, it's possible, but just let them read your story. Let them paint the picture the way that they want to paint the picture without any unnecessary emphasis, but it's your choice. You do whatever it is that you feel comfortable and want to do, okay? But I have the lockdown alarm goes because all I know is once I edit it, because I typically edit my own stuff, once I edit it, I need to go find an alarm sound somewhere and then insert that into that particular place, okay? The door slams, doors slam. Then I need to go find the sounds. That's why I have this highlighted to slamming doors. Or me and my kids, because I have a plethora of them, you know, me and my kids will go out with a microphone and we'll just make all the sounds ourselves. In my first feature film, the sound effects, the what do you call them? I can't even remember what they were called. The dang it, I dropped it. It's the people that make all the extra sounds. Me and my kids went out and did that. You know, just grab our microphones and every sound that was highlighted, we went out there and found that sound. If it was cars screaming by, we stood next to a highway and just recorded the sounds. You know, if it was slamming doors, we just kept slamming doors until we got a good sound that we wanted.
Background sound?
No, it wasn't background. It's it almost came to me and just went away. Somebody's got to know what I'm talking about. It is Foley. So yes, we would go out and do all of our Foley ourselves. So to answer your question really quick is, again, is since they're already trudging off, if it shows the person off screen, if it shows them off screen, then we would be focusing on what we last were seeing. And what we were last seeing was Danny and Jake and Danny trudging off. All right. And then he says in his voice, I really wish I could shoot that guy. And as he's walking away, you can hear him say, he's got a gun and a badge, but we don't know who he is. Okay. I act out my stuff when I do it. And that kind of sounded stupid right there, but I probably could figure out a way to say that to where it's cool. And if I can't, I would change it. No actor wants to say stupid stuff. Get that on the inside of you. We have to make sure our dialogue and our actions are tight. You want to set your standards. Check this out. You want to set your standards. You want to go after that A-list actor, because if you go after the A-list actor, you'll get everybody else. Because those things, their careers are built on this things. The people that are trying to come up, their careers are built on this thing. They're going to be elevated or diminished by the projects that we present to them. You see? And so when we are working out our dialogue, if that A-list actor is not going to want to say your stupid dialogue, then your film, rework it to where they would. How about that? Don't compromise down. Say, I'm going after these big actors. I'm going after the people that have been there, done that. I'm going after the people that have won awards, and they're going to be amazed saying this dialogue. This is going to resonate with them. Maybe, yeah, of course, they probably want to tweak a little bit and stuff like that, but get your dialogue dialed in to where they're not looking at it saying, that's stupid. So when I say it, that's stupid. I just act it out. That's just me. I act it out. And then if I don't like it, I change it. All right. So, all right. And David said, amen. He said, fix that dialogue. Yes, fix that dialogue. All right. So to Danny, he says, wait here. Jake marches back towards the terrified teacher and launches a vicious right hook to his jaw. And guess what I did? I added a transition. Okay, definitely not necessary at all. But because we're going over the elements, I added it. You could see that it moved to the right-hand side. It did it on its own. Cut to black to simulate him getting knocked out, right? So, I mean, we really pretty much covered almost everything in a page and a half so far, okay? We got a few minutes left, so I'm gonna continue on. There's our transition right here. We cut to black. This stuff I added, all right? So it'll take a little bit of explanation, but I'm gonna get through it real quick. All right, so here we have our scene heading, obviously, which is interior or exterior or both, the location and time of day. You keep hearing me say this over and over again, but that's all good. All right, look at this. Interior, rock on. Interior, Jake's house, living room, day, flashback, because people ask all the time, how do you do flashbacks? Awesome, we're gonna do a flashback and a dream sequence all at the same time, just to get it out there. Rock on. So we have flashback. Jake sleeps on the floor between moving boxes. If I were doing it myself, I could highlight moving boxes. A bottle of booze, that would be in all caps in a shooting script or something that I would be presenting to go into production. And a picture, that would again be in all caps right here. All right, I just didn't do it because they're going to read it. Your reader is wanting to get engulfed in your story. A picture of his 6-year-old son in the other. All right, subheadings, I added those. Yes, I didn't do interior Jake's house, kitchen, day. All right, so I just added a subheading. Since we're staying in one location, I just put kitchen. Pots and pans, obviously those could have been highlighted. Pots and pans are stacked. Check this out. Let me just hit on this. And this is only because I wrote this real quick. Try to remove any instances of is and are from your writing. All right. It is tricky sometimes, tricky, but you will be a better writer because of it. So I have pots and pans are, and if I had a minute and I focused more on it, because I just did this yesterday, I would have figured out a way to rework that. Even if it's something stupid like pots and pans rest on the counter, sit on the counter. No, those are stupid words. Okay, I don't mean to say stupid. I don't want to disrespect anybody, whatever. But those are easy words. Pots and pans, try to remove this word are. So this is a good teaching point. If it was a pot is stacked, or a pot can't be stacked, a pot is sitting. Remove the word is and figure out a pot sits on the counter instead of a pot is sitting on the counter. All right, they're more active words. All right, so anytime you see is and are, just look for them in your screenplay, because after I go through it, I will just do a search for is and are, and I will do my best to remove every single instance of it. Is and are. But pots and pans, sucky word, are stacked on the counter. Overflowing packing boxes wait to be taped up, because I could have put overflowing packing boxes are waiting, you know, but wait to be taped, whatever. Anyway, forget my words right now. I would have done better if this was, you know. Bedroom, another subheading. I do not have a complete slug line like this one, okay? Bedroom, a lone vacuum cleaner sits in the middle of a vacant room. Awesome, that's it. Bathroom, because I'm trying to just give you examples of these subheadings. Bathroom, the faucet drips in the empty room. Okay, it's a bathroom, so it's still a room. A lipstick kiss dawns the corner of the mirror. I just made that up yesterday, and then I tied it together with something. So anyway, the faucet drips in the empty room. A lipstick kiss dawns the corner of the mirror. All right, now we're back into the living room. I still left it in subheadings because we have not changed location. Jake's face contorts as he sleeps and his body twitches. All right. Now, in our flashback, because we're still in a flashback, people say, how do I do a dream sequence? I added a dream sequence because we started off with Jake asleep in the living room. So dream sequence, interior, Jake's house, bathroom, day. All right. Notice I put dream sequence underlined here. That is a way people do a dream sequence, but it's also done to where you can put it in parentheses at the end. Your choice. All right. So if neither one of these work for you, then go find one that does. That's as simple as that, you guys. You're 100% right doing it with this. You're 100% doing it with the flashback that we initially had with the paragraphs right here. I'm in parentheses. That's 100% correct. And I encourage people, once you know that something is correct, stand on it, stand on it, stand on it. Okay, if you find something better or you want something better, go look for it. But you know a correct way to start a flashback, and you know a correct way to do a dream sequence, or if this was a flashback, I would just write flashback there. Then I would do my slug line, interior, Jake's house, bathroom, day. All right. I don't do it this way because, again, I like continuity. It bugs me when things are out of place. So my scene headings, I like all against the side, and I don't want anything else there. And then that's why I've gotten used to and prefer to put them on the back end, but that's just me. All right, so this is our dream sequence within our flashback. Jake brushes his teeth. A childish grin flashes on his face, catching a glimpse of the lipstick smooch in the mirror. Okay, notice in a screenplay, everything is present tense. We runs, we runs, we run, he runs. Everything is present tense. We don't do past tense, okay? Just like this sentence, the door creaks open. Everything is in present tense. He cranes his head, all right? Now, I use the dash dash here because the next thing is going to be an action. I want it suspenseful. I want it action, you know? Actually, I could have used a dot, dot, dot there. But anyway, you know the difference. The door creaks open, he cranes his head, his toothbrush halts mid-brush, and his eyes widen like saucers, okay? He extends his hand. That's what I did. I just put a little pause there, okay? The actor's gonna act this out however he wants to, all right? I just wrote it how I wrote it yesterday. If I had to go back, I would change some things, okay? So don't freak out about the way that I structure things, because I don't know if I would use that now that I'm reading it out loud to you guys. I could have used a dot, dot, dot for he slowly cranes his head. I actually could have wrote that. He slowly cranes his head. His toothbrush halts mid-brush and his eyes widen like saucer. He extends his hand and he says, "Put down the gun, son. That's not a toy, okay? That's daddy's." Bang. All right. So bang, I put in all caps. If I was just writing this for a reader, that would not be in all caps, because in all caps, it signifies to the sound effects department that we need a gunshot there. All right. And so, see here, I used the dash dash because there was a sudden interruption. Amanda, do you see that?
Yes, I
Oh,
can see.
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect,
Okay.
perfect.
Okay.
So that's daddy's.
I have another question.
Go for it.
Okay. When you first enter the scene, I've seen some of the screenplays using, like, you had someone was sleeping here.
Right.
Can you say that someone is sleeping, and when he wakes up, then he's like, where was it? A bit upwards.
Right here. Jake sleeps on the floor.
Yeah. Can you say Jake is sleeping on the floor in this situation, because he's sleeping when the scene is opening?
Right, right. You could say Jake is, but remember, is not a good word to use in your stories, guys.
Okay. Yeah.
Is.
Okay.
Just try to remove those. And that's why, I mean, I could have used any number of words. I could have switched this around. Instead of sleeps, I could have, I could have put that he's passed out, you know what I mean? Or something like that. Because clearly there's booze there, because he could have been passed out, but I don't want to say Jake is passed out. Jake prostate.
Yeah. Okay. Because I had everything like on the present tense, just like you had written here. And then someone told me that when the scene is opening, you should put it like he's sleeping or he's doing something in the kitchen or something like that. And then I changed my every script when the situation is happening, when the scene is like opening. But I guess I'm going back.
Well, yeah, just there's nothing wrong with that, because
Okay.
remember, we do what we know best with the knowledge that we have, you see, and as we continue to learn, you know, we can make adjustments to try to do better. But this is one of the mistakes I believe that a lot of writers and artists make, is because they continue to try to acquire knowledge, but they don't put into practice what they already know. That's a good word, you guys, okay? They don't put into practice what they already know, and they just continue to absorb knowledge, which is great. Keep getting knowledge, you see? But once you get a hold of a truth, stand on that truth, be excellent at that. And no matter what level, even if your level is down at the kid level writing, be excellent at that until you start to elevate. Be excellent at what it is that you know. So, and this is for me as well, because I automatically, as you saw, I wrote that pots and pans are stacked on the counter because I was just looking for something easy. But those words are easy. Is an easy word to use in a screenplay. That's why we want to remove it. Are is an easy word to use in a screenplay. That's why we want to remove it. We want to find something that challenges us. See, I already wrote this sentence better right here, just listening and hearing how it was read. Jake, prostrate on the floor, snores loudly, a bottle of booze in one hand, a picture of his 6-year-old son in the other. That's even better sentence than when I was writing Jake sleeps on the floor, you see? But just go and do a search in your screenplay and look for the word is, and see how you can remove that word and make it more of an active word as opposed of a passive word, okay? Is just try to just do a search. And if you can't, there's nothing wrong with a few of them, but you will elevate your level of writing and the quality of your writing. I promise all of you guys that if you just look for those ises and R's and remove them, okay? Are we good?
Yes, and I will do that, yeah.
Wonderful. All right, I'm gonna continue on. Okay, so, and notice this is how I ended the dream sequence here. Because remember, we went to a flashback. In that flashback, he was sleeping, so we went to a dream sequence. And then I ended the dream sequence simply by putting end dream sequence. So I gave you an example of how to do that. So you seeing this, no other questions. 100% you know how to do a dream sequence. 100% you know how to do a flashback. And so now Jake snaps out of his sleep. I was looking for a way to not use is and are or whatever. Screaming as he clutches his heaving chest. All right. An actor can see that and they can act that out. Okay. Based on the bang from the last, from the dream sequence, Jake snaps out of his sleep, screaming, he clutches his heaving chest. Okay. I can see that visually. Whether I want to reword it or not, I don't know. But anyway, it's there. And then I have here, return to scene. So now I'm going back to my regular sequence, my scene of present day and that time. So everybody knows now how to do a dream sequence. Everybody knows how to do a flashback. You can start it in the front if you want. You can start it in the front if you want for your flashback or your dream sequence with an underline, or you can put it in parentheses here at the end of your slug line or your scene heading. All right. And then when you want to go back, return to scene or end dream sequence or end flashback sequence. So rock on. Everybody should be like 100% golden. Don't be shaken by anything else. You can stand 100% on that and be excellent in your writing with the knowledge that you already have regarding that. If something better comes along, great, embrace it. Rock on. All right, exterior. So now we're back at there. Exterior school day. Jake places Danny in the back of his unmarked police car. I was going to shoot this. He quickly jumps behind the wheel and drives off. All right, so that's easy. Pretty self-explanatory, easy, easy, easy. Okay, now we're in interior, and check this out. I could have put later, okay, for people just that has questions about the time of day and all that kind of stuff. But guess what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't change anything. That's why I just most of the times just stick with they, because it's not relevant to anything in this particular screenplay. If it were relevant and the time mattered, then I can put later. So I'll leave it there so you can see an example. Okay. Notice how I just put this, broke it down, one word: rundown apartment, later, decrepit, uninhabitable, a place used only for business of the worst kind. Obviously, you can't film that, you know, but what it is just gives you a clue to how the place looks without me having to try to describe everything in the building. Just really easy, or inside the apartment. All right. So this is just the kind of the way that I do stuff like this is I'll just give the meaning behind it. And then the props department, once there is a props department, but the reader can get an idea based on what I'm saying, a place used only for business of the worst kind. All right, so here I'm introducing a new character, Manny, 30s, a tatted Mexican, stares intently at a closed door, slowly eating a chocolate cookie. Obviously, these are my Aunt Linda's famous chocolate crinkle cookies, and they are bomb. They're bomb. I had to put them in a screenplay. Okay, so he's eating these cookies, staring at the door. Now we're going interior, rundown apartment, bathroom, day. Cy, 30s, a sharply dressed product of the streets with lofty ambitions. Oh, shoot. See, I did that. I'm sorry. With lofty ambition, sits on the edge of a grimy tub. He frantically tries to retrieve messages on a cell phone that failed to come through. Okay, out of time, he quickly rises and snatches up strands of toilet paper beneath him. He tosses. See, I'm just trying to use words, stand away from is and anything like that. He tosses the paper in the stained toilet and flushes. Obviously, I needed that sound effect to when we produce it. Okay, this toilet is stained, so that's not necessarily it is. It just is. You know. Interior rundown apartment day. Cy exits the bathroom. Manny eyes him with suspicion. That's all I need to do. That's a good word, right? Or just a good line. He's coming out of the bathroom, and Manny is staring him down 3 times. Character name, center of the page. This is law. This is law. Your action lines, that's law. Center of the page for your character name, center of the page for your dialogue, that's law. We're golden. 3 times. 3 times you've been in there. What's going on, Cy? You look a little bit off, bro. Cy, let's get, I'm sorry. Let's get this finished up. Let's just get what's the rush? You got somewhere else to be? Yo, just playing. Anyway, department door opens. 2 enforcers introducing new characters. If your characters typically don't have dialogue, then you will not need to necessarily do them in all caps. But these 2 people do, or at least one of them does. 2 enforcers enter, one carrying a gun, the other a shotgun. Cy shakes his head, bothered but unnerved. This is not how we do business, Manny. Things change, Jefe. Now sit down before my boys put you down. Right there, Manny, right there. That's why screenwriting is not complicated. The mechanics, this is all. Once I do this, watch what happens in my screenplay. It put Manny, it knows that I'm going to talk. Manny's talking back and forth. Now it puts Cy. It knows I'm talking back and forth between these guys. I just hit the tab button. Manny, tab, Cy. See? Nothing complicated about the mechanics of screenwriting. All right. Okay. It is 8 o'clock. If anybody needs to say bye-bye, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Got to take my wife. Okay. David, you rock, brother. Does anybody have any questions? Since it's 8 o'clock, I can continue on if you'd like. Actually, dang. Or I could even send this to you guys if you want to take a look at it at a little slower pace. Anything that I say that I could send to you guys, you email me and say, hey, send this. And the reason why is because I don't want to send a bunch of stuff to people who aren't interested. You see what I mean? That's not how I roll. If people are, plugging away and they want something, I am more than happy to get that to them. So if you want just a copy of this, Like I said, it's a mixture of all the elements. Later on, I do a montage, and some other elements are in this screenplay. But I don't want to keep you just reading something just so I could show you how things look on the page. And okay, in this parenthetical, just real quick, in this parenthetical, see, it's like that, huh? Oh, wait a minute. This is not how we do it. Things change. Now sit down before my boys put you down. Side takes a seat across from Manny. Well, I guess you can forget about getting any more of those crinkle cookies. So it's like that, huh? Huh? Side shrugs his shoulders. What? Look who's pulling out the big guns. That's a shame, man. Best thing about doing business with you, to be honest. Referring to the bag of cookies. That's where this RAEF comes in the parentheticals. Refer, bag of cookies. Yo, let me get one of them. Yeah. Manny stares coldly at him first as he finishes off his cookie. I'm not going to read on anymore because it's just redoing of the same elements. But the story really kind of gets good a little bit further down. Oh, let me show you the title page real quick. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions on any of this stuff though, right here? I will pause and not talk over anybody. No questions? Everybody understands how the elements work. Screenwriting software sets everything up for you, so you don't have to try to figure out where everything goes. So you're good. You can even find templates and stuff. But all right, so we went over everything. A little bit later on, way down the page, close to the end, I have, well, I don't want to spoil it for you. If anybody wants to send it, because this is kind of bomb Billy-icious when it gets into it, you know. So anyway, if anybody wants to see this or you want me to send it, just let me know. Or I can put it in the Legacy Street Writers group and then people can snatch it if they want it. Okay. So yeah, I can do that. All right, rock on. So you would have to email, but I'm going to put it in the Legacy Street Writers group. Samantha, Samantha, are you in there? Okay, I'll put it in the Legacy Street Writers group, and then people that want it, they can just snatch it out of there. And again, just for the record, and I will put a note because I was raised, listen to this, and it is a character development. I was raised, only a fool shows his mediocrity. That's the way my dad raised me. And I'm telling you, he ingrained that on the inside of us. I never show things typically that I can make better. And it kills me on the inside if I'm having to show some people. That's why I'm always explaining my stuff. But for the record, everybody, I added pretty much all the elements of a screenplay into this little short pilot, just so you guys can see it. So the wording on some of the things could be better, but all the elements are there just for you guys to see that kind of stuff. So if somebody else sees this and then they say, well, that's kind of stupid having this, it's like, he was just trying to teach us something. All right, you guys got that? Go ahead, yes. Samantha.
I have managed to do everyone who's in the scene that matters in caps every single time. They've already been introduced at the beginning, but I still have Jake. I still have everyone capitalized. So do I need to go in and uncapitalize everyone?
You do. And if you're, what program are you using?
It was Final Draft.
Then you can go in and do a, well, you can go in and replace all those with changing. So look for Jake or whatever the name is, and then find and replace, and then put regular uppercase, lowercase, and then it should go and replace it for you. Do this first though. Make sure you save your copy that you are not going to touch. So before you make changes to your screenplay, save it the way that it is in case you do something disastrous, right? And have that tucked aside, then go and make any kind of major changes. To me, that's a major change, even though it's something as simple as that.
Yeah. So as far as description or action, other than the introduction of the character, that's the only time there's going to be caps, unless you're trying to emphasize something in the action, no other caps.
Right. But if you are not producing this yourself, I would encourage you not to highlight the sounds. Don't highlight the props. Don't highlight the special effects. Don't highlight anything in all caps. Okay. If you're not trying to produce this yourself, if you're just sending it for somebody to read, let them just read straight through your story. So all this stuff like the Walkman headphones that I have on the screen right here, that would be in upper and lower case, you know, and then any of the props that you have seen, the holstered gun, all that kind of stuff, the door slamming, lockdown alarm, none of that. That would just be lockdown alarm. Sounds, kids bolt, doors slam. I don't need to emphasize any of that because it's a straight read. Let the reader just visualize things how he wants to visualize them.
Okay, and in a different class, for example, that line, the lady had suggested, if you want to like direct the camera without directing the camera, was the lockdown alarm sounds. Next line, kids bolt. Next line, doors slam. Jake swears under his breath. Like it all was separate lines, so, because that gave the picture. But what do you say? Tell me.
Well, I say you can do that. Remember, just use the knowledge you have. You can do that, but you're going to have a beefy screenplay for no reason.
I know.
Okay, you're going to extend your page count, and all reality, once you get down to the end, if you're writing like that, then your 90-minute, if just assuming it's a feature film or 60-minute pilot, you're thinking, oh, I got a 90-page script. No, you don't. No, you don't. You got a 52-page script because of the line spacing like this. Now, granted, yes, it is absolutely better to use one sentence. And then if, like, say, for instance, if the teacher was doing something here, and I just wrote, teacher runs away. And then the next line, I just want to emphasize Jake. I can put Jake runs after him. But that really doesn't change the read or the emphasis if I put teacher runs away, Jake bolts after him. You know what I mean? So you can do that, but you're going to add a lot of unnecessary pages to your screenplay.
Well,
what's that? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The 90 pages I had been at roughly, I've gone to 94. So I know I've added, you know, with her assistance was that kind of additional space, but I know I still had 90 of really solid stuff.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, you can certainly do that then. I mean, absolutely. It'll make for the read that goes straight down the page, which is what we're going for always, you know? So I just obviously did not do that.
But it's not wrong, not right.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not wrong. Short sentences, because it does make things pop. You know, there's definitely there's definitely a plus to that, but on the minus side, if you're at 90 pages, then if you take that away, that's what I'm saying. You may you were at 90 pages and went to 94. That's perfect, because if someone else did it that method and they reached 90 pages and they said, oh, my screenplay's done, they actually may be lacking substance in their story, because if you take all those lines and you strip them down, then they're at, you know, 88 pages or 86 pages, which means maybe they don't have enough content in their stories to really, you know, keep their story. I hope that's making sense, because I'm like,
no, it's making sense. The fact that I still have 3 more scenes to do is bringing me well over 100 pages. And once you look at it, you'll have a better idea. I've only sent you the first half. That's perfect in my mind for you to look at.
Gotcha. Rock on, rock on. All right. So anyway, does anybody else have any questions? I just added all this stuff in there. Not that I would actually do this. I didn't do any of this stuff. I just added it for the sake of this class with the subheadings right here, you know, and then we were able to kind of fix some things and to look at some things. So does anybody have any questions? I'm going to show you guys the title page real quick.
So this dream sequence is still in the middle of his flashback.
Yes. So I have it in the dream sequence, then in the flashback.
Okay. Okay.
So tell anybody that you show this to, I'm not an idiot. I know how to do this. You know what I mean? It was not literally in the screenplay until yesterday. All right. Documents, title page. All right. So here's the title page that I have. this screenplay, this pilot's called Dichotomy. Okay, Dichotomy. So scene 1, episode 1. None of this would even be here if it was not a pilot. It would normally just go the name of your screenplay, written by your name. And if it was based on anything, then you would add that right there. If there were additional writers, you go Trevor L. Smith and whoever. And whoops, I'm in all caps, sorry. Whatever. I can't, whatever, dude, you're making me mad. I was gonna type my wife's name, you know, Trevor L. Smith and Christy Smith. Whatever, dude, whatever. Okay, and at the bottom here, so that's what that looks like. Dichotomy, if this was your feature or whatever, dichotomy, written by your name and based on anything. This is for a pilot, so I have scene 1, episode 1. Do you see what I see? Okay.
Okay.
Oh, that jumped down a line when I did that. Sorry, let me fix this. Okay, and at the bottom here, you're just gonna have your name, your address, telephone, basically your name and your contact information, whatever number whatever you want to put on there. Okay, because you'll see them with name and email address, or name and telephone number, name, their actual physical address, mailing address, telephone number, email. So you can put all these components if you'd like, but it's your name and your contact information. If you have a manager or an agent, and they're the ones that are sending this information, then their names would typically be listed. All right. So that's pretty much self-explanatory. And for the most part, you'll see most of them on the left-hand side. You will see some of them on the right-hand side, but for the most part, the majority of screenplays I've seen, and maybe the ones you've come across, will be on the left-hand side for your name and contact information. Writers Guild information, Writers Guild Association number, or copyright, not recommended that you add. Okay, do not recommend. I don't recommend it because it does come across as amateurs. Oh, I got my screenplay done, I'm gonna send it out, but I want you to know I got my copyright. You know what I mean? To someone who's in the industry, they are gonna look at it and say, oh, this must be this dude's first screenplay, you know, whatever. So you can put it if you want. I'm just letting you know that that's the way it comes across to some people. I want to just let you guys know that any of the things that I'm talking about as far as bending rules, those things won't get your screenplay chucked. It won't get your screenplay thrown out. All right. You know, variations on the way that people do things, having things highlighted. If you wanted to go through and highlight every sound effect and every special effect and, you know, all your props and stuff, nobody really is going to trip off of that. They're not going to throw your screenplay away from that because of that. All right. So I just want to let you guys know, because I give you recommendations, it doesn't mean that somebody's going to see the slight variations or the bending of whatever kind of rules, because that's not a rule. You know, that's just trying to make it just a straight read for your reader, because none of those departments exist. And Samantha, like you were saying, as you we're talking about directing the camera, I direct the camera with what I write, not necessarily by me having to break up the sentences. So I'm going to take this page off, so like in this particular sequence where, okay, look where I put here. If I really wanted to emphasize this and shoot it as a close-up, meaning I want the camera to look at that, he places his thumb on the holstered gun. How are you really going to see that unless you're really kind of focused on that area? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's how I direct the camera, you know, but that's obviously me personally. You know, if we were writing a shooting script, we would say close up on holstered gun. There you go. So, but because I'm wanting to somewhat direct this camera, he places his thumb on the holstered gun. And then that means you're going to have to kind of focus in on that area to be able to see the thumb going on it clearly. So does anybody have any questions?
And it's capitalized because it's emphasized, or this is a shooting script? What is it there?
This whole thing was a shooting script until yesterday.
But in general, if it was the original reading script, those would not be capitalized?
Yes, but it always started as a shooting script for me because I was just going to write it and go shoot it. You see what I mean? That's my mentality. And for some of you guys that want to be writer directors, that should be your mentality. I'm going to write this thing. I'm going to put my crew together and go shoot it. It ain't that hard. And I'm sorry, I don't mean any disrespect. Certain movies obviously are incredibly difficult to make. Some I can't even process how they make them. But any of the projects that I write, even if it has fight sequences in it, car stuff, if it has, you know, different elements, action stuff, to me, it's not that hard. I have the mentality, I'm going to write this. I'm going to go find me a cameraman. I'm going to go find me a lighting person, a sound person, go find my actors, and we're going to get together, my locations, we're going to get together and shoot this thing. So it always started as a shooting script for me. If I was writing this to send out to someone, then none of this stuff would be capitalized except for the first time I introduced my character and any characters that come in and out. The children right here would be capitalized because I need children, or, you know, because I'm saying that these are children. But then again, I wouldn't. I would only use it for my characters, to be honest. Just my characters. Nothing I'm trying to emphasize. If I'm trying to emphasize, I do it in writing.
When you read mine, ignore all the capitals.
No, I wouldn't have to. No, that's perfectly fine. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to let you know that it's perfectly fine if you do everything in all caps. It's perfectly fine if you do not your name after you first see them. You know what I mean? The first time you see your character name, that's the only time they should be all caps. No emphasis later on. No, nothing. No more caps for them. Okay. But if your props are all capitalized, no problem. That's how I started out. Okay. No problem at all. And I would still continue to do that if I wanted to, but it makes sense to me that a reader is just wanting to read the story. They're not thinking about the prop department, nor are they thinking about the effects department or the sound effects. They're not thinking about any of that stuff. It's just the reader getting caught up in a story, just like one would in a novel. Okay, you don't emphasize words in a novel for the most part by all caps, you know. So, and if you do, it's obviously sparingly. But anyway, I hope you guys understand. If you have it all caps, you're perfectly fine. Even leave it if you want to. It's how you want to express yourself on paper. Okay. I really agree with the reader just wanting to read your script. Which final draft do I have? I have the latest one, I believe.
12 is the latest.
Maybe not. Maybe I have 11 or 12. 11 or 12. So does anybody have any questions on the screenplay? I will put it in the Legacy Street Writers group. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Emphasize, try to remove your is, try to remove your r's, you know, write in present tense, write visually, right? Because it's a visual art form. But if you take all those elements, just those thoughts right there, and you think about how we talked about experience, express, extract, and embody those elements, the plots, checks and balance, you see, when you think about those and incorporate them within your story, you're going to have a magical story and your screenplay is going to rock. Okay. All right. So I'm going to close this down unless somebody has anything.
No.
All right. When I said my screenplay to page 43 is perfect, I meant it was complete in scenes. Okay. Gotcha. Right on.
Clear. He'll be like,
Oh,
what?
gotcha. Oh no, I mean, it's all good. I want you guys to be super dialed. So it doesn't matter what you send my way. We're going to go back over it, and depending on where you want to go is kind of how I look at people's work. If a bunch of friends are getting together to shoot, seriously, because I was going to shoot this, I didn't have any character descriptions. I didn't need them. I knew who, because I was going to direct it and I'm putting together this crew. I know who I'm looking for. So I would go out and find that person, you know? So I didn't have any of that stuff. I didn't need to list their ages. That's for me. And another thing, you can be lighter on the description because the director is going to find who he wants. Yes, ages and characteristics, but you're going to see those characteristics come out in their story. We see characteristics come out in Jake's character because he sucks a teacher. You know what I mean? And didn't even explain why he was snatching a girl out of her class. You know, that's a characteristics. That's kind of bad, you know? And so anyway, and then it gets more into the crime scene stuff a little bit later in the story, because we only got to like page 5, I think. But anyway, rock on. What is the shortest a short can be for competition? For competition, you just have to look at a specific film festival. But the shorter, the better. So that's a general rule for short films, because short films typically aren't marketable, bankable. You don't make money off of those. It's just showcasing your work, and it's filling up space in between the feature films that are showing, you see? So, but if you're talking about like, how short are you talking?
I don't know if it was like 5 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes.
5-minute short film is wonderful.
Okay.
Think about this. We took this whole class going through 5 pages, which is 5-minute project. And a lot happened. We had dreams, we had flashbacks, we had punching teachers, we had dudes snatching girl with a gun. I mean, at least it makes you curious as to what's going on, you know? Then we went in there with the chocolate chip crinkle cookies with Manny and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that all happened in 5 pages. So 5 to 10 pages, if you can get a short film like dialed, beginning, middle, and end, telling your story, you are smoking hot. 10 pages and you tell a powerful story. 12 pages, 15 pages is going on a little bit on the longer side, but that's what this is. But this is for a pilot. But anyway, 15 pages a little longer in. But no, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes. Whoa, whoa, you are good. You're good. So rock on. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So if I would write for, I have a pilot that's 32 pages.
Okay.
And I was intending it to be like a half an hour comedy, romantic comedy, dramedy, something like that. Is it too
perfect
for 30 minutes?
Yes, you can even go a little bit higher if you wanted to. You can go like 35 pages, because the time, and I put this on the cards. I put those on the cards for that little outline thing. But the timing works different, especially for sitcoms, for 30-minute shows. The timing is a little bit more faster paced. Yeah. So your 32, 35-page screenplay is really going to be truncated down to 28, 27 or whatever, because of the pacing is a lot faster.
Yeah.
So you're in a sweet spot right there.
Yeah, it was 35 pages, but then I cut a little bit of the scenes because I thought it was maybe a bit too long.
Oh, gotcha.
Just entered a bit later in the scenes.
Yes, you're in a sweet spot right there.
Okay.
That means you really do have enough content. Some people, when it comes to writing their scripts, they get right at 90 pages and they said, I'm done. Well, you got to really make sure you got enough content within that 90 pages. Now, 90 pages, that's good. You cross that threshold, you cross that mark, but sometimes things are spaced out a little bit differently to reach that 90 pages. So when you look at substance, maybe the substance isn't all there. So when you cross that threshold, when you get in that little sweet spot for like features of 100 and 110 pages, that means even if you're needing to short up stuff, you still got that substance. And the same thing with your 35-minute or 35-page sitcom or the 30-minute pilot. 35 pages can go 32 pages, which means when you're filming, you're going to be going a little bit less than that, but you got the content in there. You see what I mean? And then you can make adjustments accordingly, not be trying to last minute add stuff just to get past that page mark. So that's a good thing. I hope I didn't confuse anybody.
No.
I get excited. So rock on. Does anybody have any questions? I'm trying to take this thing off and I forgot how. Oh, yeah, stop share.
One more thing. One more thing.
One more thing, go for it.
Yeah. When I have with the pilot, should I introduce the characters in the first page or in a pitch desk?
Or in the what?
In a pitch desk. Pitch desk.
Oh, in your pitch deck?
Yeah, pitch deck, yeah.
Well, you want to introduce the characters as soon as humanly possible in any project.
Yes, of course, but should I like make the introduction about the characters, what are they like and who they are in the first page? In
On
the
first page, you will have to kind of look and see what other people are doing in regards to their pitch decks. Okay,
Okay.
that would be my recommendation for you.
Okay.
Everything I wrote television wise, I made. As a matter of fact, if you guys go to my website, you could see a show that was shopped around by an Emmy-winning production company that was interested in taking on a project that I helped to executive produce, and I shot and directed and edited, did all that kind of stuff or whatever. But anyway, so everything that I've done, I went right from to the script to getting people together and going to shoot it. So I never had to pitch anything as far as television goes. So my encouragement would just be to look at other people's pitch decks, look at the ones that you would most likely want to emulate, obviously adding your elements and stuff like that, that really sits right with you. And hopefully they had some success with it. So that's always a good thing. But if it worked for them and you like the way that they outlined it, I would go with something like that, because that's what I would do. If I was wanting to pitch a TV show, that's what I would do. And I didn't want to just go off on my little tangent as I normally do. But like this here, and I'm doing it right now. This show right here, I'm just going to go out and shoot it. I already have 3 episodes. It's just a 15-minute thing. But guess what? I built my audience. You know, I build a following behind it. That's why I encourage people to make your own line. You know, you can wait in line like everybody else. Perfectly fine. Do that. That is the process. But I'm not a very patient person. I'm like, it's going to be impossible, nearly impossible for somebody to pick this up, nearly impossible for somebody to make it. Watch me. You know what I mean? And then I just go out there and shoot it myself. But I do that to get people interested in my material. Then when I start going in line, you know, or I continue in line, I have something else to say. Oh, I got a following of this amount of people. You know, people are wanting to see this. You see, that's why you guys that are actors, create your own content. Find somebody that's writing, and then, or if you're writing your own material, go out and shoot it. Go do it yourself. Make yourself a star. Come on now, make yourself a star. What are you waiting for? There are people that are very, 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 very talented. And yes, you are very, 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 very talented. But I do not rely on luck for anything. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make this about me. I'm trying to make this about you. You don't have to wait for luck to hit you. You create your opportunities. If you're an actor, write something for yourself to star in. You know your strengths. You even know your weaknesses. So write for your strengths. And if you're not a writer, find somebody in this class who's writing great material, and then connect with them. Because we used to do acting classes too. Anyway, but that's another story. But my point is, if you're an actor, go create your own content. Film yourself, even if it's a 2-minute, 3-minute short film. Because yes, Samantha, you were asking about how short something can be. 3 minutes. If you wrote a short 3-minute short film for this project, man, we'll call it done. And I'm super proud of you, you know, for doing it and finishing it and writing a script that's 3 pages long, beginning, middle, and end. You know what I mean? There you go. 5 pages. Oh my gosh. You know, 7 pages, 10, 12. You're killing it. You see, go create your own content.